The staff came down on Mama Kojo's skull with a sickening crack. Blood sprayed across the sacred masks hanging on the shrine walls. The old priestess crumpled to the floor, her white ceremonial robes turning crimson. But she wasn't screaming. She was smiling. That terrible, knowing smile that made Damola's hands shake even as he struck her again. And again. "Stop smiling," he screamed, bringing the ironwood staff down a third time. "Stop smiling." Mama Kojo's lips moved, blood bubbling between her teeth. Her voice came out as a wet whisper that somehow filled the entire shrine. 7 days, Damola. 7 days and 7 nights. You think you've killed me? No, my child. You've just given me permission to wear your skin forever. Her eyes went white. Then she was gone. Damola stood there in the darkness, covered in blood, suddenly understanding he'd made a mistake that would follow him beyond death itself. Behind him, footsteps. He spun around. Nothing. Just shadows. Just the ancestors watching. Always watching. But if you want to know how the proudest man in Akpan village became a prisoner in his own body, trapped to the vengeful spirit of the woman he murdered, you need to hear how it all began. And trust me, by the end of this story, you'll never look at the night the same way again. If you love terrifying African folklore that will haunt your dreams, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what happens next will make you question everything you thought you knew about death. 3 weeks before Mama Kojo's murder, the village of Akpan was celebrating the harvest festival. Drums echoed through the valley. Women danced in colorful wrapper cloths. Children chased each other between the compound houses. The air smelled of roasted yam and palm wine. Damola sat on his father's elevated platform, watching the festivities with bored, calculating eyes. At 28 years old, he was Chief Obina's only son and the most feared man in the village. Not respected. Feared. There's a difference. That one, he said, pointing at a young woman serving food. Bring her to my compound tonight. His friend, Ikin, shifted uncomfortably. Damola, that's Adi's daughter. She's engaged to. I don't care who she's engaged to. I want her. Ikin said nothing. Nobody ever said no to Damola. Not when his father controlled the land, the trade routes, and the village council. Not when Damola had 6 strong men who'd do anything he asked for the right price. But then Adesiwa walked into the village square, and everything changed. She moved like water, graceful and purposeful. Her head wrap was simple white cloth, but she wore it like a crown. She carried a basket of herbs, stopping to treat a child's fever, bandage an elder's wound, speak blessings over a pregnant woman. Everywhere she went, people smiled. Really smiled. The kind of genuine love you can't buy or force. Damola sat up straighter. Who is that? Mama Kojo's daughter, Ikin whispered. The priestess's only child. Damola, don't even. She's beautiful. She's sacred. Training to be the next priestess. Untouchable. Damola's jaw tightened. Nothing was untouchable. He'd proven that his entire life. He stood, adjusted his expensive agbada, and walked straight toward her. The crowd parted automatically. Damola's reputation moved ahead of him like a cold wind. Adesiwa, he called out, his voice carrying across the square. She turned, and her eyes met his. For a moment, Damola forgot how to breathe. She was even more beautiful up close. But there was something else in her gaze. Pity. She looked at him the way you'd look at a sick dog. Chief's son, she said politely. Nothing more. I've been watching you. He flashed his most charming smile, the one that usually made women giggle and blush. You move through this village like sunlight. I want to know you better. There's nothing to know. I serve the ancestors and the people. Everyone deserves pleasure, companionship, love. He stepped closer. I can give you things no other man in this village can. Gold. Cattle. A compound twice the size of your mother's shrine. Adesewa set down her basket. The entire village square had gone quiet. Even the drums had stopped. Damola, son of Obina, I will tell you this once, and I will tell you plainly. Her voice was soft but somehow reached every ear. I would rather marry a leper than a man with a rotted soul. You use gold to hide the decay inside you. You use power to hide your weakness. You use your father's name because you have none of your own. I don't want your gifts. I want you to leave me alone. The silence was deafening. Damola felt his face burning. Somewhere, someone laughed. Then another. Then the whole square erupted in whispers. He could feel 100 eyes on him, watching him get rejected publicly for the first time in his life. You'll regret this, he said quietly. Will I? Adesewa picked up her basket. Or will you? Before he could respond, Mama Kojo appeared. The old priestess moved through the crowd like Moses parting the Red Sea. She was 65, tall and thin, with grey locks wrapped in red cloth. Her eyes were sharp and knowing. Those eyes saw everything. Knew everything. My daughter has spoken, boy. You have your answer. Leave now before you embarrass yourself further. Boy. She called him boy. In front of everyone. Damola's hands clenched into fists. You can't speak to me like that, old woman. I just did. And I'll do worse if you threaten my daughter again. Mama Kojo stepped forward, and Damola found himself stepping back. I've seen your future, Damola. The ancestors have shown it to me in dreams. You stand at a crossroads. Choose pride, and you'll destroy yourself. Choose humility, and you might still save your soul. I don't believe in your superstitious nonsense. Mama Kojo smiled sadly. You will. Soon enough, you will. She took Adesewa's hand, and they walked away together, leaving Damola standing alone in the center of the square. Around him, people whispered and pointed. Some laughed behind their hands. He had his name mixed with words like rejected and humiliated and finally got what he deserved. Ekin touched his shoulder. Brother, let it go. There are other women. Damola shoved him away. Get away from me. He stormed back to his compound, rage burning in his chest like swallowed fire. In his room, he paced like a caged animal, replaying the humiliation over and over. The laughter. The whispers. Adesewa's pitying eyes. Mama Kojo calling him boy. His servant brought palm wine. Damola drank until the bottle was empty, but the anger didn't fade. It grew. Festered. Transformed into something darker. Around midnight, a thought crept into his mind like a snake. If he couldn't have Adesewa, he'd take something she loved even more. He'd hurt her the way she hurt him. Make her feel powerless. Make her understand what it meant to cross Damola, son of Chief Obina. He'd kill her mother. The thought should have horrified him. Instead, it felt like relief. Like a solution. Like justice. 3 days later, on a moonless night when even the stars seemed to hide, Damola gathered 6 of his most loyal servants in the forest behind his compound. These were men who'd helped him hide debts, cover up assaults, dispose of evidence before. Men who valued gold more than conscience. Tonight, we are going to Mama Kojo's shrine, he said, passing around a bottle of kai kai, the strong local gin that made men brave and stupid. We are going to rob it. Make it look like thieves broke in. Take some artifacts, smash some pots. But the old woman can't survive to identify us. Understand? The men exchanged nervous glances. Boss, or one of them said, a scarred man named Obi. That's the priestess. The ancestors. The ancestors are stories to keep weak men in line. There's no magic protecting her. Just an old woman with a big reputation. Damola pulled out a leather pouch heavy with gold coins. This is real. This is power. Follow me tonight, and you'll have enough to leave this village, start new lives. Or stay here and remain poor forever. Greed won. It always did. They waited until 3 in the morning when the world was at its darkest. The shrine sat at the edge of the village, surrounded by ancient Iroko trees whose roots pushed up through the earth like grasping fingers. Moonlight couldn't penetrate the canopy. Perfect. Damola led them to the back entrance, a small wooden door barely visible in the shadows. He'd watched the shrine for 3 days, learning Mama Kojo's patterns. She slept in a small room attached to the main shrine. Alone. Vulnerable. Remember, he whispered, make noise. Smash things. Make it look convincing. They pushed through the door. Inside, the shrine was a maze of shadows and sacred objects. Masks hung on the walls, their hollow eyes seeming to follow movement. Clay pots lined the shelves, filled with herbs and bones and things Damola didn't want to identify. The air smelled of incense and something else. Something old and patient. Spread out, Damola ordered. Take what looks valuable. The men moved through the shrine, but Damola could see their hands shaking. One of them picked up a mask, then quickly put it down as if it had burned him. Another backed away from a shelf of skulls, whispering prayers under his breath. Stop being cowards. Damola hissed. They're just objects. Then the temperature dropped. Damola's breath became visible. The candles that had been dark suddenly flickered to life, all at once, illuminating the shrine in dancing orange light. And there she stood. Mama Kojo, in the center of the room, wearing her white ceremonial robes. Holding an oil lamp. Her eyes weren't afraid. They were sad. I've been expecting you, Damola. The servants bolted. All 6 of them ran for the door, abandoning him without hesitation. Damola heard their footsteps disappearing into the night. Cowards. All of them. He was alone with her now. The gods showed me this moment 3 days ago, Mama Kojo said, her voice eerily calm. I saw you standing here, holding my death in your hands. I prayed you'd change your mind. Choose differently. But here you are. You humiliated me, Damola spat. You and your daughter. You made me look weak in front of the entire village. No, child. You did that yourself. Adesiwa simply refused to participate in your fantasy. She set down the lamp. You still have a choice. Leave now. Beg the ancestors for forgiveness. Change your path. I don't beg. Not to you. Not to your ancestors. Not to anyone. Mama Kojo closed her eyes. Then I'm sorry for what's about to happen to you. She began chanting in the old language, words that predated the village, predated the tribes, predated everything except the earth itself. The shrine began to shake. Wind came from nowhere, extinguishing some candles while making others burn brighter. The masks on the walls seemed to move, twisting their expressions from neutral to angry. Terror and rage mixed in Damola's chest. He grabbed the closest thing he could find, Mama Kojo's ceremonial staff, made of ancient ironwood and carved with symbols that seemed to pulse with their own light. Stop, he screamed, charging at her. The staff connected with her skull. Crack. She stumbled, blood streaming down her face. But she didn't stop chanting. The wind grew stronger. Objects began flying off shelves. The ground beneath Damola's feet felt like it was breathing. He hit her again. Crack. She fell to her knees, but her lips kept moving. The words kept coming. A third time. Crack. Mama Kojo collapsed onto the floor, blood pooling around her white robes, turning them red. The chanting stopped. The wind died. The candles went out, plunging the shrine into darkness. Silence. Damola stood there, chest heaving, staff still in his hands. He'd done it. He'd actually done it. The great Mama Kojo, priestess of Akpan, spiritual guide to the entire region, lay dead at his feet. He should have felt triumph. Victory. Power. Instead, he felt cold. He lit a match, hands shaking. In the flickering light, he looked down at Mama Kojo's body. Her eyes were open, staring at him. And she was smiling. That smile. That knowing, terrible smile. Her lips moved. Sound came out, though her chest wasn't rising, though she wasn't breathing, though she was clearly dead. 7 days, Damola. 7 days and 7 nights. You will be hunted by what cannot be killed. Tortured by what cannot be stopped. And you will live. Oh yes, you will live. Because I won't let you die. Death is too merciful. Too easy. You'll be my vessel. My puppet. My warning to this village. Every breath you take will be agony. And when I'm done with you, there are 6 more who helped you. 6 more who will learn that some debts are paid in screams. Her eyes went completely white. Milky. Dead. Then she was gone. Damola dropped the staff and ran. He dragged her body deep into the forest, hands slipping in blood. He built a fire and burned everything, the body, his clothes, the evidence. As the flames consumed Mama Kojo's corpse, he swore he heard laughing. Her laughing. Coming from the fire itself. Stop it, he whispered. You're dead. You're dead. The laughing continued until the fire burned out. Damola returned to his compound as the sun rose, scrubbed himself raw in the river, and collapsed onto his bed. He'd done it. Gotten away with it. Mama Kojo was gone. No witnesses. No evidence. He slept deeply for the first time in days. When he woke that evening, the village was in chaos. Adesewa had found her mother's shrine ransacked. The search parties went out immediately. 3 days later, hunters found charred remains in the forest. The village erupted in grief. Damola attended the funeral, playing the concerned citizen. He offered to help find the killers. Contributed money for the burial ceremony. Even approached Adesewa to offer condolences. She looked at him with those same knowing eyes her mother had. Did you do this? What? No. How could you even suggest? I'll find out, she said quietly. The truth always comes to light. But weeks passed. No evidence emerged. The investigation stalled. Damola's servants, terrified and bought off, kept quiet. His father suspected nothing. Damola began to relax. The ancestors had done nothing. The gods had remained silent. Mama Kojo's curse was just the desperate threat of a dying woman. He'd won. On the night of the 3rd day after the murder, Damola went to sleep with a smile on his face. He woke at exactly 3 in the morning. His room was freezing. So cold he could see his breath. Frost had formed on the inside of his window. In Nigeria. In the dry season. Then he had it. Drip. 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 Water. No. Something thicker. Damola lit his bedside lamp with trembling hands. The flame pushed back the darkness, revealing his room inch by inch. His heart stopped. Wet footprints led from his closed window across the wooden floor directly to his bed. They were burned into the wood, permanently charred, as if someone with feet made of fire had walked through. They smelled of rot and grave soil and burned flesh. Damola followed their path with his eyes. They came to his bed. But they didn't go away. Which meant whatever made them was still here. In the room. With him. From outside his window, a woman's voice called his name. Raspy. Hello. Dead. Damola. He ran to the window and looked out. Nothing. Just darkness. Just the night. But when he turned back to his room, there was a new handprint on his pillow. Still wet. Still warm. He didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next day, he tried to convince himself it was imagination. Stress. Guilt manifesting as hallucination. He went about his day, forcing smiles, conducting business, pretending everything was normal. But that night, it happened again. 3 in the morning. Freezing cold. And this time, scratching sounds coming from inside his walls. Like fingernails dragging across wood. Moving. Getting closer to his bed. On the 4th night, his servants woke to his screaming. They found him standing in the corner of his room, pointing at the door. Burned into the wood from the inside was a handprint. As if someone with flesh made of fire had tried to claw their way out of the room. Did you see her? Damola screamed. Did you see her standing there? The servants saw nothing. But they saw the handprint. And they ran. By morning, all of Damola's servants had fled. Every single one. Even with threats. Even with bribes. They'd rather be poor and alive than rich and in a cursed house. Word spread through the village. The chief's son's compound was haunted. Damola refused to believe it. On the 5th night, he stayed awake. Drank coffee. Lit every lamp. Held a knife. He would face whatever this was and prove it was nothing. 3 in the morning arrived like a death sentence. All the lamps went out simultaneously. In the darkness, breathing that wasn't his own. Close. Getting closer. He lit a match with shaking hands. At the foot of his bed stood Mama Kojo. But wrong. All wrong. Her head twisted at an impossible angle. Her eyes completely white and milky. Her jaw dislocated, hanging open. Her body jerked and twitched like a puppet with tangled strings. She didn't speak. Just pointed at him with a finger that was nothing but bone. The match burned down to Damola's fingers. He dropped it with a yelp. Fumbled for another. When light returned, she was gone. But scratched into his wall, deep gouges in the wood, were words, 2 more days. Damola broke. Completely. He ran to his father's compound in the middle of the night, pounded on the door until Chief Obina opened it. Papa, please, you have to help me. She's haunting me. Mama Kojo. I killed her. I killed her and now she won't let me sleep, won't let me rest. She's in my room every night and she's going to. Chief Obina's face went through shock, disbelief, horror, and finally resignation. His son. His only son. A murderer. We'll fix this, the chief said, though his voice held no conviction. We'll call the priests. Every medicine man in the region. We'll protect you. On the evening of the 6th day, 12 spiritual warriors gathered at Damola's compound. These were the most powerful practitioners from 5 different villages. They brought sacred objects, ancient texts, protective charms blessed by generations of ancestors. They created an elaborate protection ritual. Drew salt circles. Spilled chicken blood at the cardinal points. Chanted in languages older than memory. Placed Damola in the center of their circle and promised him he was safe. Nothing can cross these barriers, the head priest assured him. Not spirits. Not curses. Not even death itself. You are protected. Damola sat in the center, surrounded by chanting priests. His father watched from the corner, grief and shame warring on his face. The sun set. Night fell. The chanting grew louder as midnight approached. The priests called on every ancestor, every god, every protective spirit they could name. 11:59. The chanting reached a fever pitch. Midnight. The seventh day had arrived. Every single priest collapsed at exactly the same moment. Blood poured from their eyes, their ears, their noses. The salt circles shattered like glass. The candles exploded in bursts of wax and flame. The protective charms crumbled to dust. And Esechi walked through the door. Mama Kojo. But transformed. Her body shifted between forms, a young woman, old crone, skeletal figure, beast with glowing eyes, all at once, flickering like a broken film reel. Her voice came from everywhere. The walls. The floor. Inside Damola's own head. Did you think dead men could stop me? I am the ancestors now. I am the curse. I am the price of sacred blood spilled on sacred ground. Damola tried to run. His legs wouldn't move. Chief Obine tried to grab his son. An invisible force threw him across the room, unconscious. Mama Kojo extended her hand. Damola's body lifted off the ground, feet dangling, choking on nothing. She floated toward him, her face inches from his. Death would be mercy. So you'll never have it. You'll be my puppet. My vessel. My living warning. Every breath will be torture. And you'll take many, many breaths. She opened her mouth impossibly wide. Smoke poured out, black and thick and moving with purpose. It forced its way into Damola's mouth, his nose, his ears, his eyes. He could feel her crawling inside him. Taking residence. Making herself at home in his bones, his blood, his brain. Two consciousnesses in one body. His voice tried to scream. But another voice came out instead. Her voice. Raspy and dead and triumphant. Welcome home, boy. Damola ran. His body moved on its own, carrying him through the village, toward the forest. He tried to drown himself in the river. Threw himself in. Swallowed water. Sank. But his body wouldn't die. It swam to shore on its own, coughing and sputtering, while Mama Kojo's laughter echoed in his skull. I told you. You don't get to die. He tried again and again. Jumping from heights. Eating poison herbs. Cutting his wrists. Every time, his body healed. Every time, she laughed. 3 days later, villagers found him near Mama Kojo's grave. Damola sat there, talking to himself. Having full conversations. One voice his. One voice hers. Arguing. Screaming. Begging. His hair had turned completely white. His eyes were vacant. Scratches covered his body, self-inflicted, trying to claw her out. Adesiwa approached with the village elders. Why did you kill my mother? For just a moment, Damola's eyes cleared. Both eyes were his own again. Tears streamed down his face. She's inside me. Wearing me like clothes. I can feel her moving around in here. Using my hands. Speaking with my mouth. She won't let me die. I'm trapped in here with her. Forever. His face contorted. Mama Kojo took control. When Damola's mouth opened again, her voice came out. He died alone in the dark at the hands of a coward. Now he lives the same, alone, in darkness, a prisoner in his own body. But we're not done yet. She made Damola's body stand and point at 6 men in the crowd, the servants who'd helped with the murder. These 6 helped him hide the truth. One by one, I'm coming for you. And each death will be more terrible than the last. The 6 men scattered, screaming, running in different directions. But over the next 6 months, each one died. Found near Mama Kojo's grave. Faces frozen in expressions of pure terror. Eyes white and empty. As if they'd seen something that broke their minds and wouldn't stop showing it to them even after their hearts stopped beating. The village elders decided Damola couldn't roam free. They sealed him in Mama Kojo's old shrine. Iron chains. Blessed locks. Sacred symbols carved into every surface. Food passed through a slot. No one ever entered. But at night villagers heard screaming from inside. Not one voice. 2 voices. Screaming at each other. Fighting for control of one body. Sometimes laughing, her laughing. Sometimes begging, his begging. Above the shrine door, words appeared one morning, burned into the wood by an invisible hand. The dead remember. The dead collect. 40 years passed. The shrine still stands. The screaming never stopped. Some say Damola is still alive in there. That she keeps him alive, suffering, as eternal punishment. Others say what's in there isn't alive at all anymore. Just 2 spirits locked in an endless war for one body. One consciousness trying to escape. One consciousness that will never let it. Children are forbidden from going near. But sometimes, on moonless nights, when the world is at its darkest, you can hear him. Hear them. 2 voices screaming from one throat. And if you listen very carefully, you'll hear her voice, Mama Kojo's voice, whispering the same words she's whispered every single night for 40 years. 7 days I promised you. But 7 days became 7 years. 7 years became 7 decades. And we have so many more days ahead of us, don't we, Damola? So many more days. Forever and ever and ever. The last person who tried to peek through the shrine's cracks came running back to the village, eyes wide with terror, unable to speak for 3 days. When he finally found his voice, all he could say was, "He's still in there. Still conscious. Still aware. And he's been counting every single second. But here's the thing that keeps me awake at night. The thing nobody in Akpan village wants to talk about. Last week, the screaming stopped. For the first time in 40 years, the shrine went completely silent. The elders sent 3 brave men to check on it. They opened the door with blessed keys, expecting to find a body. Or bones. Or nothing. Instead, they found fresh footprints. Leading from the chains, broken chains, to the door. And out into the village. The prints were burned into the stone floor. Moving toward the outside world. Mama Kojo's voice echoed through the empty shrine one last time. 40 years was enough for him to learn. Now it's time to teach others. No one has seen Damola since. But across Nigeria, people report seeing a man with white hair and mismatched eyes, one normal, one milky white. He walks through villages at night. Stands outside the homes of those who've committed evil. Those who've spilled innocent blood. Those who think they're above consequence. And the next morning, those people are found dead. Not killed. But driven mad. Their faces frozen in the same expression Damola must have worn for 40 years. Pure, unending terror. So the next time you think about hurting someone, about letting pride drive you to violence, about believing you're above justice, remember Damola. Remember the price he paid. Is still paying. Because somewhere out there, he's walking. She's walking. They're walking. Looking for the next person who needs to learn what it means when the dead remember. And the dead collect. If this story made your blood run cold, smash that like button, drop a comment telling me which part terrified you most, and subscribe because next week's tale is even darker. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens when a village midwife delivers something that isn't quite human. I'll see you in your nightmares. The shrine in Akpan still stands. The door still swings open in the wind. And every night, at exactly 3 in the morning, if you're brave enough to listen, you'll hear footsteps. Coming closer. Always closer.